Hello everyone, welcome to today's episode of the Osasu Show. Our focus on today's documentary is on the agricultural revolution ongoing in Abia State. As we all know, Abia is known for trade and commerce, so the governor has taken the initiative to ensure that over 1,000 Abians are trained in an initiative in collaboration with the Central Bank of Nigeria. So they've built poultry clusters and they're also growing their homemade rice. In this documentary, we'll be taking a look at that and the economic impact on everyday Abians. Don't go anywhere. It promises to be a very educative and inspiring documentary.
I therefore got open this cluster and say that it will serve humanity and bring glory to your name, in the name of God the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit.
Once upon a time, agriculture was the mainstay of the Nigerian economy. It was then the highest earner of foreign exchange for the country. Despite fluctuations in world prices, agriculture was contributing 85% of Nigeria's foreign exchange earnings and represented almost 70% of total exports, generating about 80% of our GDP in the 1960s, according to a report by the Central Bank of Nigeria in the pre-oil boom.
The agricultural sector is one of the drivers of the GDP, one of the drivers of the economy in terms of engagement, in terms of economic activity. For me, when you look at what we've done in agriculture over the years, from before the discovery of crude oil, it was the leader in terms of GDP contribution. It also has the highest contributor to government revenue within those periods. But upon discovery of oil, contribution to agriculture started reducing significantly, such that government had to come up with different initiatives such as Operation Feed the Nation, Green Revolution, for people to go back to farm. People have been going back to farm time and again, but what they've been doing on farm seems not to be adding to what Nigeria requires in terms of food sufficiency.
30 years ago, the main contributor to our GDP was agriculture. We had the pyramids, the granite pyramids, and pretty much every other commodity was booming. We had cocoa, and then we found oil. And 30 years later, we find ourselves trying to sort of boost this sector again, sort of restart the sector, and in a bid to not only increase productivity but also create jobs.
The discovery of oil in 1956 launched Nigeria into the limelight of petrostate in the early 1970s. The agro sector took a big hit. As the discovery of oil, the lure of petrodollars turned the focus of the country from agriculture. This neglect continued throughout various successive governments, which would later affect the economy in the long run.
There was some kind of abandonment because people began to migrate. The youth who were farming in the village, nobody wanted to stay in the village again. Lagos population was peaking. To be in Lagos or Enugu or Kano or Kaduna became the rating of being Benin or being Ibadan, because there were a lot of jobs to pick up, from the oil money that was flowing. And that neglect that the people who ought to be farming now abandon it for other menial work in the city. It was not planned by anybody. It was a definite alternative, but without a projection into the future. Say, when you leave those things that are important they will come back hot you.
Today, our government is looking back at agriculture as a primary source of economic growth.
It has been proven over time that agric is the tool to handle the issues of unemployment and food insecurity facing Nigeria. All right. Now, how is that? How is that possible? How can that work? You see, a lot of industries, agriculture is now providing a lot of opportunities, not just in production. There are now various value chains in agriculture, in the agribusiness world, where we're talking about production, processing, packaging, supply. Now, these various value chains, production, for example, I pick maize, for example, there is a production of maize. Now, there's also the value chain for the processing of maize. So if you want to go, it's providing an entry point for various individuals, not to just produce, but to also process, supply, package, providing an entry point for people to come in.
I think in terms of, from a direction of GDP point of employment, is done quite a bit in terms of employment. But however, the full effect, we have not felt the full effect yet. Looking at food prices in the market, it's been year-on-year increase in food prices over the last 3 to 4 years. And that for me is a bad signal. I mean, if you're pumping money into a sector, naturally you should see the price of that commodity dropping. But we're not seeing that yet. So something still needs to be checked in that respect.
Just as agriculture in the country has taken a new lead, some states are now boosting the agricultural sector as the benefits are countless, both for the state's economy and its indigents. For example, Abia State, led by His Excellency Governor Kezi Ikpeazu, has successfully launched an agricultural revolution to this effect. Known as a major economic state in Nigeria for many years, with its great contribution to the economy through commerce and industrialization, Abia State has reverted to agriculture, which used to be the mainstay of Nigeria's economy before the discovery of oil. Under the leadership of His Excellency Governor Kezi Ikpeazu, the government has taken yet another challenge in boosting agriculture and is successfully executing it.
Nigeria is at an opportunity where it can make the best of its local products. And again, the governor has always advocated that he wants a Nigeria where every state will be able to harness areas where they have comparative and competitive advantage. And Abia State is blessed. We have a lot of advantages. In agro-allied products, we have advantages. We have rice, we have yam, we have oil palm, we have cassava, we have cocoa, we have cashew, we have legumes, we have all kinds of fruits in commercial quantity, no doubt, no less. And if you leave that, everybody knows about Aba. You have the ingenuity of Aba. You have the leather accessories. You have the belts, the shoes, the bags, and the rest of them. And then you have the footwear also, and then you have the garments. Aba clothes, people have always worn Aba clothes.
When this present administration came on board, the governor in his wisdom made agriculture a major pillar of development and established policies to drive that vision. And through the Ministry of Agriculture, the ministry mandated to drive the vision of government. Many activities which the government established have been driven in the ministry.
Another area where we can applaud this administration's effort is the recent commissioning of the Abia State Poultry Clusters, Osasu, Nsulu in Isialangwa North Local Government Area. The program, built under the Accelerated Agricultural Development Scheme of the state government through the instrumentality of Abia State Ministry of Agriculture in partnership with the Central Bank of Nigeria, is aimed at training youth who would manage the poultry pens in the farm.
First, I want to give glory to God Almighty for this milestone. The concept and the vision to do this here was born out of a need to bridge the gap between knowledge and practical agriculture. There is no human endeavor that is worth anybody's time that does not require some form of education or learning, either in form of the regular school curriculum or through apprenticeship. We thought it wise to look at the reason why many young people are no longer interested in poultry farming. And our study indicated to us that it was because many of them were not mentally prepared for what it takes to go into poultry farming. Therefore, it is not just enough to have money to buy their own chicks and build pen and start your own poultry farm. There is need for a potential poultry farmer to pass through some tutelage and know the dynamics of procuring feed and what type of feed and at what time and for how long you need to feed your birds. You must also know the imperatives of vaccination and other services that will be provided by the veterinary department. Beyond that, you must know and learn that you must love your birds and your chicken just as much as you love yourself. That is why more often than not, when people start out with a small poultry farm and they are unable to provide what it takes to feed their chicken for 6 weeks at least before they can sell them as broilers. And before long, catastrophe will strike because they are also unable to appreciate the need to do vaccination at the appropriate time. Government decided to create a cluster that will hold down these variables that would have ordinarily confused the young farmer. So that as you take part in what is happening in this cluster, first you'll be taken to a classroom, and then from there you receive support of our warehouse of feed, the nutritious Abia feed for poultry, which I am proud to declare to this audience today is also manufactured by this cluster. So the feed we give to our birds is not from any other source, but it is from a source that we trust, so that we know that the feed we are giving our birds are the best that is available in the market. And that is why we prepare our feed to match our birds and give us the kind of outcomes that we desire. So from that also you learn that at the appropriate time you call in the veterinary doctor to look at your birds and do routine vaccinations from time to time. By holding down these variables, we can assure you that you will score 95 to 99% success even as you rear your birds as a young farmer. So the casualty that would have come as a result of ignorance is completely eliminated by this concept. I want to at this point thank the central bank for their various initiatives to drive all these kind of ideas and vision to ensure that at least we tackle the twin problem of food security and unemployment in our country. I want to say to us that for our youth around this cluster, and indeed Abia State, this is an opportunity for you to learn for yourselves a trade that can give you the kind of income that you desire and you'll be happy. So I recommend that all politicians should look this way, the way of agriculture as a tool for empowerment for our youths, because we truly want to give sustainable means of livelihood for our children.
With 69 poultry pens, 42 of which houses 1,000 capacity of birds, while 27 houses 500 birds, as well as an administrative block, the partnership with the CBN will help train 1,000 youth from the 17 local government areas in poultry farming, who would then be handed various poultry pens.
Actually, we started this project in May of 2017. You can imagine within 2 years, this project was completed. It has not been easy, first from the acquisition of the land to the construction of the physical infrastructure. It has not been easy. The community has really cooperated with the Ministry of Agriculture, and the fund provided by His Excellency, the Governor of the state, Dr. Okezi Bazo, and that is exactly what you are seeing today.
Yeah, we have the mandate of the state to come and train the farmers, and the number that we have, when we met the governor, he said that we should be able to help him to train the 1,000 farmers. But currently we have 225 to start with, and we have the intention of extending our house to more farmers, which will be distributed amongst the whole of the local government, at least 50 from each of the local government. When you calculate, that will give you 850. So 850 plus the 225 that we had already had, that will give you about 1,000 plus.
I should be grateful for the government giving me this opportunity, because I know I'm not the only youth that applied for this scheme. We are more than the huge number of youths that applied for this scheme. But at the end of the day, I was among the 222 beneficiaries to start off the pilot phase 1 of the program. And I just thank God that there is a lot of benefits on this program if only I can follow up with the terms and conditions being required from the government. Then I'll see things work out for myself.
So far, we have learned a lot within this period of training, especially on how to raise birds, starting from the day-old chicks to the point of selling them. We promise that at the end of this program that we are going to be a useful youth in future.
The idea of doing this is to keep the youth busy, to let them be self-employed. I don't see them staying up to 5 years before owning their own farm. On our own, we discussed it also with the state governor that we can go extra miles, after the training, to put them through, in the sense that we can encourage them, maybe through their local government chairman and their house member, to be able to establish pen. And it is going to be our responsibility to supply them all the inputs, encourage them at no cost. But at the end of the day, we are going to take off those, because there will be also a marketing board that will set aside, which we will head as well. So we will take off those birds, and they will make their profit and walk away.
The governor has provided a platform for them. The sky is just the starting point. They should utilize this great opportunity that the governor of Abia State has provided for them, that they'll be well trained, and they will also be given opportunity to start their agri-business.
I tell the youth that agriculture is the way to go now. Time has gone when people try to rely much on white-collar jobs. It is no longer paying. This time around, agriculture, the richest people on earth today, you see, are agriculturists, people who are engaged in farming. So I want to tell the youth not to be ashamed of the kind of job they think this is. This is the way to go. It can sustain them, it can sustain their families, it can sustain their future. Don't mind them whatever you have done. We urge people to bring innovation into agriculture. Not a question where you say your hands are dirty and all the rest of them. By the time they take agriculture as the way to go, they will be better for it.
There's a lot to gain from the agricultural sector. It's still within agriculture, because our market, the local market, calls for it. Since we are not controlling population growth, no government program to control population growth, we must invest hugely, heavily in agriculture, so that we don't go caught begging in hand very soon.
You don't need to have an agricultural background to be a farmer. You don't have to own a land to be a farmer, to be an agribusiness person. All right, the value chain is there. You could decide to occupy the production. You could decide to occupy the supply value chain. You could decide to occupy the ICT, like farm crowding and the rest you're doing today using ICT in agri-tech. All right, so it's an opportunity. There should be more avenues for people to learn more about agriculture, improve agronomic practices, all right, and benefits. More networks should be developed, especially emphasizing on young people, because I think that the strength of every nation is in the youths, all right? And if we have more persons, more young people in the agricultural sector, the effect will be very enormous.
Like every good leader, Governor Kezipazu understands his people must have food security. That is why his administration has shown massive support in cash crop farming by not only providing seedlings but providing easier means for farmers to market their good and sell easily, what some call value chain. It is solely for the reason Abia rice is fast gaining popularity in the eastern region of the country and soon to take over Nigeria.
You cannot overemphasize the importance of growing agri sector. But when agri sector is not growing, you can't even work when you are hungry. You can't work because of exchange rate distortion and risk, which most of the time don't favor our country. And we have to import some food. Before now, we were importing up to 60-70% of rice we consume. Now, figures shows that we are now importing less. Although we still import some proportion, our government is trying to see, does this really work? Among other reasons why border recently has been closed, maybe because of security, maybe because of importation of some food items, and government claim is going to be temporary closure, and this will be open in the coming period.
We've always had rice in Abia State. Abia North Senatorial Zone has been the rice belt of the state. In Osasu, in Bende, in Abam, all the way to Aruchukwu. If you go, you will see fields and fields of rice, fully planted. From Obani Beku all the way up, you see fields of rice.
With what the present administration is doing, the government of Okezevic Tebazu PhD, of course, we know that our governor is an agrarian governor. He made agriculture a major pillar of development in his administration. And he's making everything possible to ensure that we develop agriculture. So he has now brought rice production to the fore in Abia State by first appointing a coordinator for rice, that we will now identify all the areas where rice is produced in Abia State, encourage the rice farmers in Abia State to plant the seedlings that are well developed, that yield profitably. Then they are now aggregated and processed in Abia. The governor has provided for processing facilities. We have a processing facility at Uzakoli. Presently, governor has also approved that another processing facility be provided in Acha.
In Isukwato, you have in Bende, also in Bende, you have in Ofeme, in Umuahia North here, and then these things are producing. So we started producing our own rice, and then we brought out the bag, Usikapa Abia, simply meaning Abia rice, and we were able to put it in the market, and today you have Abia rice all over. And of course, we're a Christian state, we're God's own state, so I'm sure I'm free to quote the Bible. Even the Bible says nobody lights a candle and puts it under the table. You must put it on for the world to see. So we did a little bit of marketing and told the world that we have Abia rice, that we have rice in Abia State.
His disposition to transform Abia to an agricultural hub is happening right before our eyes. Ikpeazu has always emphasized that Nigeria must develop a new policy that will discourage importation of foreign foods and encourage the cultivation and eating of local foods as a way to tackle the prevailing economic glut occasioned by the global oil slide.
That's it in today's episode. Follow us on social media at The Osasu Show on Instagram, Facebook and Twitter. Follow my personal handle at Osasu Igbinajon and visit my website www.osasuigbinajon.com. For news on sustainable development and current affairs across Africa, visit tostvnetwork.com. I'll see you same time, same place next week, and until then, take very good care of yourself. God bless you.